Right. So let's go to the Bilderberg conference they had recently in Switzerland. I want to get your thoughts about that conference.
All right. So this Bilderberg conference, which is interesting, is not something new. It's been happening since 1954. There's some other things that's been happening since 1954 as well, which maybe we'll pull those things together and connect them. As far as the Bilderberg conference, what's very interesting is what surrounds it, how it's shrouded in so much secrecy. Now, of course, today with the internet, we can get agendas and things of that nature, but it was a time where you couldn't get agendas. You couldn't necessarily, it was not easy to get information from a standpoint of who even was invited or involved in this conference. So this is a conference. Normally it's 3 or 4 days. This conference normally is upwards to 150 attendees. And these attendees are from many different walks of the quote-unquote elite life, so to speak. So heads of state, prime ministers, billionaires, kings, scientists, academia, labor, media, kings, finance bosses, political leaders, representatives from tech corporations. This is heavy now. Representatives from tech corporations, futurists, economists, engineers, government representatives, strategists, foreign ministers, representatives of the Pentagon, Microsoft, Silicon Valley, National Security Council, Google, NATO, and there's tons of other corporations. Now, obviously, when we begin to speak of the Bilderberg Conference in relationship to global power, of course, that's going to be written off by mainstream media as quote-unquote conspiracy theory. But let's be very clear. This meeting that takes place every year is about global power, and it's been happening since 1954. It's Europe and North America. These are where the attendees are coming from, all right? So this past conference, we know that there was 11 main topics on the agenda, all right? Now, mainly what we're going to deal with here on the show is those that are primarily artificial intelligence technology oriented. But in essence, they all are when it's all said and done. So those three are the ethics of artificial intelligence, the ethics of artificial intelligence. So we're dealing with the most psychopathic minds on the planet coming together to decide ethics, and ethics in relationship to technology. Interesting. Also, weaponization of social media, all right? This has been happening. Facebook is a weapon. The other social media formats are weapons. Twitter, Instagram, weapons. Also, cyber threats. We dealt with that on here already. But cyber threats, things of that nature, when we talk about bots and automated software and all these different types of things, trolls. So those are three topics specifically dealing in the realm of artificial intelligence and technology. Now, just for your information, other topics: a stable strategic order. That's number one. Number two, what's next for Europe? Number three, climate change and sustainability. Number four, China, which is very interesting because we know how far China is ahead of America as far as technology is concerned. Russia. Russia is another topic, all right? The future of capitalism. Brexit, right? The British exit from the EU. And the importance of space. So primarily, the colonization of space. If you just want to make it blunt and make it clear, just like they attempt to colonize everything else. So those are your topics. We'll deal with the AI topics, all right? So again, Bilderberg Conference started in 1954, Europe and North America, upwards to 150 invites. We're talking about global power. That is the purpose, power. Now, in dealing with power, I want to be clear. They have their version of what power is. They want to enroll you in that version of quote-unquote power. By enrolling you in that illusion of power, by default, they take you away from your essence of power. So we're also going to talk about power from a standpoint of how do we empower ourselves, first and foremost. And I want to make that point clear. So I just wanted to lay that out, Carl. Where do you want to go from here?
And did they ever discuss how they're going to use AI to impact the global African presence? Because I understand that Google has set up an AI lab in Ghana a few years ago, so it's already on the continent.
Absolutely. Some years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, Facebook had expanded with drones. So many places on the African continent will be able to have access to the internet. So, of course, it's not just for them to have access on the internet. It's also for them to be surveillance and things of that nature from a standpoint of what's happening in whatever country or area that they are in on the continent. So that's something that took place maybe even 5 years ago. And it's key that we understand this. Again, the weaponization of social media. So Facebook being used as a aspect of weaponization. So it gets deep. The rabbit hole is deep. You got a lot of corporations that's in cahoots and one corporation buying another corporation in order to be able to implement and manifest certain tasks, to be able to have surveillance, and to be able to have the many different aspects of the government that need to have a hand in things as well, whether that's the CIA, whether that's the FBI, and so on and so forth. So, like, just to give you an example, Facebook bought Titan Aerospace 5 years ago for $60 million. So, Titan Aerospace, what are we dealing with? We're dealing with drones, atmospheric satellites, all right, that's capable of staying in the sky for years, all right? So this is what we have to understand has been taking place as far as, being able to weaponize social media. And then from the standpoint of using it on the biometric end, which I don't hear a lot of people, really talk about biometric intelligence and its role as far as technology and AI is concerned. So it's many things here, and there's so many connections, and we're not making those connections because when we see the technology, we're not understanding technology can either be a power tool for you or it can create a powerlessness for you. Now, this is what's happening to us, Black people, Africans, I'm talking about as a whole. What's happening is because we are legitimately 50 to 100 years behind when it comes to technology, period. Although we are the creators.
When you say we, do you mean we, the people, we, the American people, we, the Black people? Which group are you referring to?
I'm specifically speaking about us because we are at a predisposition simply because of the society that we are in. Now, what do I mean by predisposition? Then we can get into education. We can get into all of these other facets that affect our ability to have access to a lot of this technology. It's just because it's technology and it's the internet doesn't mean that we'll have that type of access to it as other people will. And that's the point I want to make. And listen, watch this. So this is the reason why a person can come from practically nothing, who can be a rolling 60 crip, and figure out what was happening with the matrix of technology and begin to create systems for our people dealing with that technology. So we can now be infused into the technology from a aspect of power, because now we bring our spiritual power into that matrix of technology, the artificial aspect of it, because we are the technology. All right. So this is why it's so important, as opposed to if we go into other cities, right, that has different demographics. These are things that are automatically at their disposal. Facts. No one can disprove that. These are things that are automatically at their disposal. And they're getting a different form of education in regarding how to deal with the technology. Let me be clear. This is why they will never invite me to any of these platforms dealing with technology and artificial intelligence. Be very clear.
Okay.
And I don't want to invite. Be very clear.
Well, let me get this in because we're coming up on a break. They said that they used AI to infiltrate to sort of divide the black community, and you know there are a lot of trolls on the internet. And when you say something and somebody reacts to it, you think it's a real person that's behind it, and it's a computer. How do we flesh that out, Brother Siddiqui? Is just everybody who's spouting something that it doesn't seem correct? Are they suspicious?
I wouldn't say they're suspicious. The bottom line is we need to work on ourselves, because at the end of the day, what all that comes back to is emotionalism. So your emotional strings are being pulled on these social sites. So what we see happening is we see people bringing their representative into these virtual reality or illusion environments. So what's happening is now you have people who are on these social sites who claim to be whatever they claim to be, and they're not those things. All right. So what happens is now we have people perpetrating as master teachers, as healers, as spiritualists, as shamans, and on and on and on and on. All right. So what's happening is we're seeing our lower selves being emotionally pulled at, and we're seeing it in these social environments, because this is what's happening.
Hang on a second, Brother Siddiqui. I'll let you roll that on the other side. We got to take a short break here. We're closing it on the top of the hour, so we're going to allow some of our stations to guest these futuristic researcher. His name is Siddiqui Bakari, and you got to listen very keenly, because he tries to keep it as straightforward as he can without getting too scientific, too technical, so we understand how artificial intelligence works, because it's going to affect all of us, every single one of us. Right now it affects us, you may not even know it, and hopefully you can break down some of the instances how you're really using artificial intelligence now and not know it. Anyway, Brother Siddiqui, I'm going to let you finish your thought that we interrupted you while we took the top of the hour break.
Yeah, that point is made. What I want to do is go back to when I mentioned Facebook buying Titan Aerospace and the weaponization of social media, and which the weaponization of social media was a topic for the Bilderberg conference. So this is something that's being discussed as far as in a global nature. So this is what I want us to understand and be clear. Now, what was the purpose for Facebook buying Titan Aerospace? All right. What was the purpose of having these drones? All right. The purpose was to bring internet connection to 2/3 of the world that lacked it. Okay. That was the purpose. Now, what does that mean? That means now you have surveillance and counterintelligence on those 2/3 of the world that you never had. Also, military defense. See, I want us to be clear when we talk about AI, artificial intelligence, in all of the different aspects of technology, there is always going to be a defense mechanism involved in it. This is why I always tell you, the listeners, when we're dealing with psychopaths, whatever it is that they make, because they don't create anything, so whatever it is that they make is going to be an extension of their psychology, which is psychopathic. You're not getting around that. Okay? This is why even in the beginning talking about 45 in the government, you're dealing with psychopaths. They can't be reformed. Their own psychiatrists and psychologists, their own psychologists and psychiatrists have spoken extensively, written extensively about this reality. All right. So I just want us to be clear when we deal with the weaponization of social media, what that means. It has so many implications. Now, I'm not here to promote fear. I'm just giving it to you on the other end. At the end of the day, it's about us. What does that mean? It's about you doing all the things that you need to do for you in order to be the best you, in order for you to be in your divinity. Because if you're in your divinity, what does that mean? You're in your spirituality. You're in a higher spiritual self. The only thing more powerful than artificial intelligence and technology is the original intelligence that it's mimicking. That's you. So all you have to do is know who you are, bring the best you out of you. Even when we talk about virtual reality, there is no virtual reality without your imagination. But in order for you to be in virtual reality, this is what they need. They need you to be focused on virtual reality so you're not focused on your own imagination. That's why you have movies. That's why you have TV 24/7, to keep you enrolled in it, to keep you distracted, to keep you from your God, quote unquote, self, to keep you from that black divinity, to keep you from that power, to keep you from being the best of the best. Instead, you use them as a benchmark when all they do and all have they ever done has been a misinterpretation of the true interpretation, which is you.
Well said. I hope people understand what you just said. Having said that, though, people look at artificial intelligence sort of like computers, and they say garbage in, garbage out. Is there any truth to that? Can anything be manipulated once it goes in?
Well, as far as us, yes. As far as artificial intelligence, not necessarily. All right. As far as us, computer, yes, we are a computer. In many different ways, we are a computer. Our subconscious mind is a computer. Our subconscious mind is taking in everything that we hear, everything that we see, all of our experiences. It's taking in our everyday existence all day, every day, 24/7. That's what our subconscious mind is doing. It can be manipulated. Matter of fact, not only can it be manipulated from an external source, but it can also be manipulated by the source. The source is you. You can reprogram the programming that you've been programmed to operate in. That's the power that we have when we tap into it. When we tap into it.
Repeat that, but do it real slow. You repeat that what you just said, because I think that was very profound. I hope folks say that we didn't skate over some folks' head, but do it real slow.
When we deal with the subconscious mind, all right, you mentioned a computer, going in, going out. So for us, yes, that reigns true. Now, for artificial intelligence and technology, not necessarily, all right? Now, for us, we are a computer in many different capacities. In many different ways, we are a computer, all right? Our psychological self, our neurological self, our intuition. These are all what have the mechanisms of what we would call a computer. But most importantly, the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is a computer. So what the subconscious mind takes in what you say, the subconscious mind takes in what you do, it takes in your experiences, all right? It takes in what you see, hence movies, media, things of that nature. Emotional imaging. So those emotions that are attached to those images in movies go straight to your subconscious mind. Now, this is what's powerful. What's powerful is not only can the subconscious mind be programmed from external sources, but the subconscious mind can also be programmed from the source. The source is you. So all of the programming that's been done to you from an external source, you can reprogram that programming from the source, which is you. So you can reprogram yourself. Now, of course, you have to have and know how to do that. You have to have the ability and know how to do it, all right? And that's what Empower is about. We know how to do it. Matter of fact, I've had listeners from your show. They're part of Empower Technology. They're having great strides, great successes in dealing with the things they need to deal with, overcoming fear, all of these different things that they need to deal with, trauma, the neurological self, the subconscious mind, how to tap into the intuition at a higher level, all these different things to create more success in their life. That's what's happening. So we know how to do it, all right? We know how to do it. It's not about the blame game. It's not about problems. We know how to do it.
And somehow we've got to get this message across, especially to our young people, because artificial intelligence is moving rapidly. It's replacing a lot of jobs. And and that's the first thing we're going to see change. A lot of these, even these regular jobs, you can go to McDonald's these days and see that you can program your food before and pay for it right there before they serve it to you. The next thing, they're going to have robots serving the food. So a lot of these jobs are going to be impacted. You know a greater knowledge about what's going on than most of us, because this is your area. What would you tell our people? What kind of warning would you give them? Where should they look, especially the young ones who are going to have to deal with this? Who are growing up, and you know, it'd be like second nature to them.
Right. Look to themselves. That's what. Be creative. Be self-determining. Listen, people may not want to hear this. One of the best things that's happening to us today is we are being forced to be self-determining. We are being forced to have to come together. We are being forced to have to support each other. We are being forced to bring the best out of ourselves. That's a beautiful thing. If they want to use technology to do certain jobs and to do all of these different things, great. That means we need to step up. We need to find what our purpose is. We need to find what we love to do, and we need to do it. And we need to put the work in to do it. If we can give 8, 10, 12 hours of ourselves to a corporation 5 days, 6 days, 7 days a week, yet we won't even give an hour to ourselves or 2 hours to our own vision, to our own mission, to our own purpose, yet we want to blame other people for our situations and our circumstances? Nah. And I'm not taking their responsibility and accountability away, but we got to have more responsibility and accountability for our own greatness. That's what I'm saying.
Would you say then that artificial intelligence, algorithms, the whole 9 yards that they use, that they look at us, they study us, and really try to manipulate us in thought, mind, and speech, action? Would you say that we're sort of the major target?
Absolutely. And I thought about it before I said it. Absolutely. And it's a lot of layers, first and foremost. And this is what we got to understand. As much as this system despises who we are, they can't survive without us. Much that we see is of greatness and all of these deifications that is given wouldn't exist without us. We got to keep that in mind. Yet at the same time, if everyone knows it, and if we know it, then what happens to them?
All right, I'll let you finish that thought on the other side. We've got to take a short break, and later on we're going to talk about music as well, because it impacts the music. And today, 10 years ago, Michael Jackson died, so we can talk a little bit about music, and this is Black Music Month.
Now back to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio.
And actually rolling with us, folks, our guest is futuristic researcher. His name is Brother Siddiqui Bakari. And Brother Siddiqui, I'm going to let you finish your thought. We stopped you right before we left for the traffic and weather update.
Yeah, primarily they can't exist without us, and this is why at this point AI and technology is being used to infiltrate us at our intrinsic essence, the intrinsic part of ourselves. So that would be our emotional self, right? That would be our spiritual self. That would be our psychological self, and that would be our neurological self. Because what's also happening is through repetition, AI is being used in order to create different types of patterns in us, different types of pathologies, programs. That's what's taking place. And I want us to be clear. And this is why I said you can reprogram yourself by changing those patterns and creating patterns that will be beneficial to you, as opposed to patterns that will create things like loathing, low self-esteem, lack of insecurity, fear of success, fear itself, trauma, and all of those other things are attributes of fear and trauma anyway. So what I'm telling you is too much technology and AI in itself, as far as your spiritual self is concerned, creates trauma. It creates fear. Now, what are you saying, Siddiqui? This is what I'm saying. When you're on Facebook and you're constantly getting inboxes about police terrorism, and you're seeing normally white policemen or whatever policemen killing black men and women, that's creating fear. That's creating trauma. And it's repetition in the way that it's taking place based on the Facebook algorithm. See, we're talking about algorithms. How does your Facebook timeline even work? The post that you see is based on algorithms. So the posts that you like, those are the type of posts that you'll see. The posts that you post, those are the type of posts that you'll see. The pictures that you like, those are the type of pictures that you will see. The advertising aspect of it. You will see advertising that is lockstep in key with your algorithm. So the posts that you like, the pictures that you like, etc., etc., etc. So in essence, what's happening is you yourself are creating an algorithm to program yourself, unless you understand the algorithm. That's how deep this goes with AI, and artificial intelligence, technology, transhumanism, the singularity, so on and so forth. So we have to understand that, and this is why I tell people all the time, we are the original binary code. We are the original algorithm. We are the original intelligence on every level.
Can we throw out, say, using Facebook as an example then, can we throw them off by highlighting or selecting different subjects that we just don't really care about? And
Sure you can.
How disruptive would that be to them?
Sure you can. Again, you create your own algorithm. But see, this is what happens on the other end. And this is why I keep talking about us creating and manifesting what we need to create and manifest for ourselves. So what happens on the other end is this, the weaponization of social media. So now we got brothers and sisters who keep creating this algorithm that's going to uplift and benefit their people and humanity. Oh, now what happens? So now those posts got to start being flagged, or those posts are taken down. See, that's part of the weaponization. Or the person who's posting it now becomes a homegrown terrorist. Those types of things. So now the Patriot Law or Acts come into play. So this is what I'm saying. We have to understand how things work. So if you're going to be on social media, use it for your benefit. There's certain ways that you communicate things. If you out here talking about crackers and devils and all that, that's not how you communicate on those paradigms. Immediately it's flagged or it's taken off. So guess what? No one's going to get educated. So it's a way that we have to do things, and it's a way we have to move if we're going to be on those paradigms or on social media.
Give us an example.
Say it again?
Give us an example. You say it was certain ways we have to of what we should be doing once we're on social media. And you use Facebook.
Okay, so primarily what we're taught in media is the purpose of social media and Facebook and things of that nature is good for one or two things, right? To find people in your life that you lost. So, high school and all of these different things. But also marketing and promoting. So many people have businesses that don't use those platforms to market and promote. They're on the platforms talking about things that doesn't matter. All right? As opposed to using that platform to promote, to market. If you have an event, use it. If you have, I don't know, if you have a restaurant, use it. If you are promoting STEM, You have a STEM setup, use it. All right? And even with STEM, you need to start talking about STEAM. Okay? So what's STEM? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So we put the A in there for art because it's all connected. Once you put the A in there for art, you truly begin to understand again who we are. Because when we deal with all of those other aspects or those other elements, we're dealing with art. Because we always bring our creative and our spiritual self into the process, which is in essence one and the same. I know Europeans got us separating everything. We see things holistically. So all of those things are connected. So if we add A into STEM and now we have STEAM, okay, now maybe it'll make more sense to our children. It's a reason that, I don't remember exactly where it was, but it was a sister who was teaching young black boys and girls mathematics through music. That's art. But she was learning mathematics through music, right? STEM. STEAM. So this is what we got to understand.
Right. Because I was wondering if you could, I know a lot of the young people are really into it, but for those who have not made it to that level yet, maybe they're just in high school and thinking about, graduate from high school, thinking about going to college, what sort of advice do you have for those young people?
About going to college?
Yeah, what they should, if they're looking for a major or something to do, and because now we keep hearing about, some people are saying that, you know, college degrees really don't matter, and a lot of these folks who went to college, they owe the federal government so much money they'll never get from under it,
right.
and the politicians have recognized that, and they're using it as a campaign weapon, you know, hoping to pick up a few supporters by saying that. So what kind of advice, with the backdrop of artificial intelligence will be rampant by the time that they finish their 4 years in whatever college they attend, what sort of advice do you have for them?
If that is going to assist them as far as what they ultimately want to do in life, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. However, for me, again, I'm more self-determining. There are many people who've been successful who've never stepped foot on a college campus. Now, let me preface this. I went to college. I did college. I went on an athletic student, quote unquote, athletic scholarship. All right. So I did that. Now, let me also be clear. By me doing that, it helped me to find my true purpose. Okay. It helped me to find my true purpose. Now, this is my story. How did it help me find my true purpose? Because nothing in college had anything to do with me. That's why. Nothing. All right? So what did I do? I used to take my scholarship money that was set aside for books for my classes. Instead of getting those books for those classes, what I would do is I went and I got books like the Autobiography of Malcolm X. Okay? Those are the type of books that I got. Carter G. Woodson, The Miseducation of a Negro. So while I was on the college campus, my story is I used it in order to build myself up, because none of it was on the campus. All they were teaching about was Greece and Rome. Okay? So that's my story. That's my story, okay? For children, we are in a world now, you don't have to step foot on a college campus first and foremost because of artificial intelligence and technology. Imagine that. That's something you can do from your home. If that's something you want to do, you can do it from your home. You don't have to pay tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to a university. So we just got to understand what the playing field and how we can use it, if we're going to use it, for ourselves. And we have to make sure that our babies can have confidence in understanding that. When I talk to my babies, I don't ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't ask them that, because that means they're going to be working for somebody. You want to be a doctor, you're going to be working for somebody probably. If you want to be whatever it is, you're going to be working for someone. Okay? So I asked my babies, what are you going to create? Because that's something that they themselves will have control over. And it's coming from them. And they'll be putting their heart, their soul, and their spirit into that, whatever their purpose is, as opposed to giving all their time to a corporation that gives not an ounce of care about them.
Right. Hold that thought right there. We got to take another short break, folks. And thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is futuristic researcher. His name is Sadiki Bakari. You've heard it before. Number to call if you got a question what he's talking about, 800-450-7876, discussing AI, artificial intelligence, transhumanism. You know, some of these words may scare you a lot, but this isn't going to be in the lexicon now of the future of our young people and our generation as well, because whatever Brother Sadiq is talking about, it's been out there for quite some time. The new stuff we haven't heard about, that's what we should be concerned with. Am I correct in saying that, Brother Sadiq?
Absolutely. Let me also preface it like this, just to add on. So my foundation is obviously history, focused on African history. All right, that is my main foundation. Also, we're going to deal with music, which is great. Hip hop is my main foundation because I grew up hip hop, so that's my main foundation. So when we deal with art, just the word, any of that, that's my main foundation. All right, and because of studying that, I was able to study different things, psychology, spirituality, all the different things that these things are all connected to. All right. Now, in doing that, this is what I noticed maybe 12 years ago. There was no African-centered scholar that I could find that was dealing with artificial intelligence, technology, transhumanism, and the singularity, period. And if they were, it wasn't consistent. So at that time, it was clear to me that was a lane, and those shoes needed to be filled. Shoes needed to be put on to run that race. All right? So for 12 years, I've been going hard on artificial intelligence or technology and all that it encompasses, but also the spiritual side of it, spiritual technology. All right? So I've been able to amass all of this research, these books. I've been able to write 12 books. 7 or 8 of those books are dealing with these types of topics. So I just want people to really understand, like when I say we're behind, we're behind. If our scholars aren't talking about it, I mean, let's really think about that, all right? So now we're at a time where, or a place where now we're talking about it because we have to. We see it every day. We're dealing with artificial intelligence every day. We're dealing with some form of technology every day. People who don't know what the term transhumanism means or who have never heard it are transhumanists and they don't know it. If you cut on the television, you're a transhumanist. All right? If you cut on the radio, you're dealing with transhumanism. If you're on your computer, you're dealing with transhumanism. Why? Because transhumanism is the merging of man and machine. That's transhumanism, simply put. So we got to understand what's really taking place.
And let me interrupt you and explain that for us, because I was going to ask you that, transhumanism, so the audience will be clear, exactly clear what you're saying and what it is, what it means.
Okay, so transhumanism. When we look at transhumanism, all right, again, we're dealing with the merging, the blending, or the interfacing with man and machine. All right? So however you see man and machine interfacing, you're dealing with some form of transhumanism. And that is with some form of technology. So whether it's evasive, so now what you have is you have people who are agreeing to be chipped. That's transhumanism for their corporate jobs. That's happening right now. That's real life. This is not the future. That's already happening. People are agreeing to do it. All right? See, I want us to be clear the effects that technology AI is having. So people are already transhumanists from the perspective of evasiveness, all right? Now, Also, we can look at that from the medical field and the medical perspective. All right? So now what's happening? Doctors are beginning to work with what? Robotic hands and all these other different things to do evasive surgeries and many other things. We look at military veterans who have been coming back, and what are they getting? They're getting prosthetic legs and all these other types of things. All of these things are aspects of a transhumanist reality or a transhumanist world. So these are things we have to pay attention to. Now, they gave you movies and all kind of things back in the day to get you ready for this, but you didn't know what you was watching. What is it? The $6 Million Man, the bionic hearing and bionic sight and all of those different things. Now they have things specifically to deal with that. Okay? So we just have to pay attention. And you was desensitized because, hey, they gave it to you on television and made it a thing for you then, but you didn't know how you was taking it in. See, we don't understand PsyOps programming and how PsyOps programming works and how it's related to technology and AI and how the AI and the technology is being given to us. They're not force feeding it. What they're doing is they are manipulating people to think that it is something that we need. I'm going to say it again. They are manipulating people to think that it is something we need. Now, when I say this, it'll be clear. Today, this government and all of their scientists cannot create those pyramids that were created tens of thousands of years ago. They can't create them. This, with all of the technology, the AI that they have now. See, stop deifying things and not paying attention to who you are in your own story. The only people we should be deifying is ourselves. The only science we should be deifying is ourselves. The only art we should be deifying is ourselves. The only spirituality we should be deifying is our own, period. And I want to be clear. The notion of God, now listen, I already know some of y'all may not want to hear this. The notion of God itself is artificial intelligence. You was quote unquote God before God. That's the concept. You was here before that. God was a concept created by people who was trying to be you. Again, who was misinterpreting who you was because they did not have the attributes to be who you are. You are the archetype. You are the primordial essence. You are that divine being. You are that I am that I am. The Nook Poo Nook. That's you. But here you are deifying them. Artificial intelligence. We got to get back to that spiritual essence, that divine intelligence. Our organic cells. That's where the power is.
I want to go back to that chip issue because we've seen it played out in animals now, in pets, I should say, so that if you lose your pet, you'll know that, that where to find them and, you know, know where they've been and all that kind of stuff. Do you see it in the future that as a baby's born, they'll just put a chip in them immediately before they send home with their parents? Do you think that's down the road?
So that's an excellent point, Carl. It's probably already happening. I don't have the documentation. Let me be clear. I don't have the documentation to prove that right now. But be clear, if you are not having your babies at home, you don't know what's happening to your babies in those hospitals when they take your baby away from you. Let me be clear. Now, as far as you mentioned pets being chipped and things of that nature, desensitizing people, again, now we know how white people love their animals, especially their dogs. Now, what are we talking about? So now we're talking about the masses or mass population being okay with this notion of being chipped because their pets are chipped. So what happens when we start talking about grandparents or great-grandparents who have Alzheimer's or who suffer from different types of, I'm just going to say mental disorders, schizoaffective and all these other different things. So now what happens with them? So now the platform is set, the blueprint has been laid. Well, they should be chipped for their own benefit, not forcibly. And then what happens? The people agree to it, never understanding what it's really about. So again, it's about manipulation. And when we talk about manipulation, when we talk about PsyOps programming, again, what are we talking about? The programming emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and the many other aspects of how you can be programmed, neurologically, on and on and on. All right? It all works hand in hand.
So let me interrupt you here for a second. You're saying by the time they start chipping all of us, the population, it'll be something that we will want. They'll figure out a way to show us that it's desirable, like you mentioned, people with the Alzheimer's or that kind of, who have those kind of challenges.
Absolutely.
Who may get lost. Yeah, so we'll say, hey, it's a good deal. Everybody should do it. They'll figure a way how to sell it to us. So we'll demand it.
Absolutely. And the media will have its hands all in it. And listen, we do it every 4 years. 4 years, excuse me. We do it every 4 years. Okay? When a president is selected, notice I didn't say elected, selected. We do it every 4 years. All right? We think we're part of that process. I'm just talking about the presidency. We really think we're part of that process. The media helps us to think that. So what do our people do? What does everyone do in America, primarily? They go out and they vote, and they think it's a process when it's really not that process.
Right. Hold that thought right there. I want you to continue on that theme about the voting, too, on the other side. Folks, you too can join us in this deep discussion with Brother Siddiqui. The next thing of those folks, our guest is a futuristic researcher. His name is Siddiqui Bakari. We're talking about artificial intelligence, how it impacts all our lives. Before we left, we were talking about the elections, presidential elections, and you mentioned that the president was selected. And I want you to emphasize this point, because many of the people, they've been used and they don't understand they're being used. They're slamming Obama didn't do this for us, Obama did this. Obama couldn't do anything. They're talking about Trump that changed his mind. He probably got that phone call when he was going after Iran, and he got that phone call and said, well, I changed my mind. Same people, I'm going to let you wake them up. Go ahead, Brother Siddiqui.
Okay. So first and foremost, let me just make this clear for the listeners. If you do vote, this is not an attack on you, okay? This is no disrespect to the ancestors. Let me make it clear. Who fought for us to get the right, quote unquote, to vote. Let me make it clear. Let me also qualify, before I say what I'm going to say, let me qualify it like this. We're supposed to stand on the shoulders of those who come before us. So what does that mean? That means we're supposed to master what they left us and take it to the next level. So whatever our ancestors 50, 60, 70 years ago felt we needed at that time, 50, 60, 70 years ago later, we should have been able to figure out what we need now. That's what I want us to understand. It does not work. That means we have to do something different. And that's the issue for our people. When it means we have to do something different, that's an issue. Now, I'm going to scientifically tell you why it's an issue. It's an issue because we suffer from trauma and because we suffer from fear. That's why it's an issue. So we want to stay in our comfort zone, in our little comfort zone, and be comfortable. If you really want to be free, you're going to be uncomfortable. If you really want to be the quote-unquote God that you say you are, you need to be uncomfortable. If you claim to be the divine person that you are, you need to be uncomfortable. If you say that you are a master teacher, you need to be uncomfortable. If you say you are a healer, you need to be uncomfortable. Let's be clear now. Voting. It's not an election. It's a selection, and I'm only talking about the presidency. If you do not know the operation of it, you are a fool anyway to be voting. It is a certain process, system, and procedure that takes place when you're dealing with voting for the presidency. Now, let me be clear. I outlined this. I've already done the research. I've written a book dealing with this, America on Trial, Portfolio of the Psychopaths. All right, so let's be clear here. I've already done that research. So what do we have to do? What we have to do is we have to take a look at ourselves. And I know this has been done, but I'm saying on a more massive scale. We have to take a look at ourselves and determine what do we want, need, and most importantly, what do we desire for ourselves. And let me be clear, this system is not giving you that. White folks not giving you that. The Asians not giving you that. The so-called Mexicans, Latinos, whatever they call themselves, they not giving you that. We can only give it to ourselves. Reparations. Distraction. I'm not saying we shouldn't have people on that front line, but I'm saying it's a distraction. Why? Because we are not educated as a people to even know what to do with the money. Anyway, I'm just keeping it 100, and I'm not putting our people down. We got to start being more truthful about our situation and who we are. We can't talk about so-called racism, white supremacy, and then not act like we don't have to deal with the issues and the dysfunction that comes with it. We got to deal with that. So I'm the person who created a system to help us deal with that, to assist us in dealing with that. And let me do this, Carl, because I get to go on and I'll end up forgetting to even do this. So anyone who wants to contact me for books, the technology, all of that stuff is in my magnum opus book. That is 4 books in one book. It's 4 books in one book. All right? So contact me if you want that book dealing with all of these topics and more. And I'm going to give you my email address to contact me. It's SadiqiBakari@hotmail.com. Sadiki, S-A-D-I-K-I, Bakari, B-A-K-A-R-I, SadiqiBakari@hotmail.com. So you'll email me if you want the magnum opus book. We'll make it happen. I'll give you the link, all of that. Also, Empower, the Empower book. This is crucial because these are the solutions and the answers. Empower Encoding Sacred Technology. Email me regarding that book as well. All right? You can also Facebook me and just inbox me. I'm Sadiki Bakari on Facebook. You know it's me when you see it. You'll see Empower. You'll see all of that. So, one-on-one. If you want to do one-on-ones with me, all right? I have 4 people right now in the DMV area that's doing one-on-ones with me. All right? So I have different systems for that. It can be 1 month. It can go anywhere up to a year. All right? So email me for that as well. Just be clear. If you are emailing me, you are emailing me for business. The books, the one-on-one. And I just want that to be clear. All right? So where do you want to go from here, Carl?
Yeah, and we got some folks who want to talk to you, and we'll give out that information again before Brother Sadiki leaves. 800-450-7876. Mayhem's joining us. He's calling from Indiana. He's on line 2. Mayhem, you're on with Brother Sadiki.
What's up, my brother?
What's up, brother?
Hey, man, I just wanted to call and tell you, man, you right on point. You remind me of updated Steve Copley. Hey, you kind of glossed over some stuff. Hey, man, because I'm in the hub of the psychopaths who's really running the White House. The psychopath here. Can you talk about, because you mentioned it, that these people in the next 5 years, they want an army in space? I don't think people really understand that, and I don't think people caught that. Why is it the psychopath want an army in space, and what is it that they are looking for, or what? I don't know if there's something coming, or they just have something coming. And let me ask you something, another quick point. Dealing with psychological sickness, are you talking about digital alchemy? And if so, how far have that soaked into our DNA? And I take it up there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So first, you mentioned Steve Copley. So Steve Copley was one of my master teachers. All right. If you want to deal with secret societies, political strategy, circles within circles, meaning these secret societies and how they connect and who's part of them, right? So even when we deal with the Bilderberg conventions and things of that nature, when we deal with that, you have to understand its connection to the many other I'm just going to say organizations, all right, and their connections, and what that means politically, all right? What does that mean as far as the government is concerned? All of those people are playing a role, and all of those people are part of these secret societies. So if you want information on those things and information that you're not going to find on the internet, I suggest you get the work of ancestor Steve Coakley, all right? Now, the way you get that work is through his son, Steve Coakley Jr., and that's someone who has to come on this show, Carl. You got to get this brother on here. Okay, he is definitely his father. All right, so I just wanted to say that Steve Coakley, brilliant man. He took a lot of stock in me. You know, he would meet me out here in Leimert Park, an area in LA. He would meet me in Leimert Park. In the first book that I did, he sat down with me, and he took the time to read through that book. And you know Steve Coakley, check. So we got all the checks. So once we got through getting all the checks, I knew the book was ready. All right. So from that point, that helped to catapult me. He did a review as well. That helped to catapult me as far as my book writing and, you know, just all the conversations that we would have when I would have interviews and things of that nature. He would take time to call me and give me real constructive criticism about those interviews, things that I could do better, things of that nature. So just a brilliant man, just a wonderful soul. And everyone who is listening, if you don't know who he is, I say is, because he's still in my life. I think about him every day. So if you don't know who he is, I suggest you find out. Now, as far as space and colonizing space and all of these different things and attempting to build weaponry for space, this is what psychopaths do. Psychopaths attempt to colonize everything and everywhere that they go. Now, again, y'all can do the history. It's documented everywhere. Everywhere they went, what did they do? It's not something I'm saying. It's been documented as long as there's been documentation to document it. They're warlike. They come in. They destroy things. They colonize things. What do they do to the water? They do all the things that they can do to contaminate everything that is of life. As you can see today, what have they done to the water? What have they done to the food? What have they done to the air? So that can't be, you can't question that, all right? Now, as far as war, they're militaristic. That's who they are. So they're using AI and the different forms of technology in order to create different types of weaponry. The possibility of space, me personally, I don't think they're in space. Just me. When I hear and they talk about, I don't deal with extraterrestrials for one thing, and this is why. I can, but I don't. And the reason I don't is because most people don't even know who they are. So why am I going to deal with extraterrestrials when people don't even know what's going on right here in the United States? So I don't go there with that discussion, all right? Now, the military, artificial intelligence, and war, DARPA. These government organizational structures aren't a secret. DARPA is creating so many aspects of artificial intelligence for war, right? Avatar, they got all kind of avatar technology. And the movie Avatar you saw really isn't what you thought you saw too. Everybody tried to talk about it from a cultural perspective because mainly that's what we've been programmed to do, is just talk about things from a cultural perspective. That's one thing we need to talk about. But when we really look at that movie, what that movie was dealing with warfare, and it was showing you the warfare and how the warfare was going to be the interfacing of man and machine. They were showing you the warfare and where the warfare was headed. They were showing you that in that movie. And again, whatever they show you in the movie, they're 50 years ahead of that. Be very clear. They're 50 years ahead of that. All right? So when you deal with DARPA, you're dealing with robotics and all these other types of things. drones. And I always tell people, when it goes down, if it goes down, when it really goes down, you're not going to be fighting white people.
Hold that thought right there, Brother Siddiqui. Yeah, because we got to take a short break. We're closing on the top there. I want you to thanks for staying with us, folks. You can just join us at 6 o'clock straight up, those of you getting off work on the East Coast. Our guest is a futuristic researcher. His name is Siddiqui Bakari. He's discussing artificial intelligence, and it's impacting all of our lives, and it will as we move through the future. Before we left, he was telling us about the military, and of course, some of you heard about the skirmish that almost started. We were the 45 in Iran. Iran shot down a drone. That's an artificial intelligence that worked there. What's he doing over Iran? I guess spying and see if they're making any nuclear weapons. But the U.S. claims it was in international waters. So Iran says no, it was over in our waters, and the Russians are backed up Iran. This is part of what part of the discussion we're having right now. But anyway, I just took a sidebar on that so folks will understand what we talk about when we talk about artificial intelligence, because drones are in that category. So, Brother Siddiqui, but I'm going to let you finish your thought.
Well, I mean, even in dealing with artificial intelligence and like you just mentioned drones, so let's look at that. You even have, when we look in the animal kingdom, what's happening with birds? Birds are literally destroying those drones. So how is it that animals understand artificial intelligence and what it is, yet many humans don't? We got to get back to who we are. We have to get back to our true selves and understand what is best for us. Now, let me say this because I haven't said this, and I want to make sure the listeners are clear. I am not against technology. I'm not anti-technology. We are technology, so I can't be anti-technology. For you to think is a technology. For you to deal with your intuition is a technology. When you get those messages from the source, which is you, that is a technology. So I'm not against technology. This is what I am against. I'm against technology whenever the premise, purpose, and foundation of it is to manipulate the original technology, which is us. That's when I'm against it. Am I against technology for you to be able to market your business online? Of course not. For you to get clients through the internet? Of course not. I'm not against that. I'm not against technology in ways that it can benefit you in your life. I'm not against that. You use that for you. You use that as a tool. I'm okay with that. I support that. But then there's the other side of it. And oftentimes, we don't want to deal with the other side of it. Because when we deal with the other side of it, that means you may have to make some sacrifices. It may be some things that you need to change about yourself and things that you're doing in your life and why you're doing it. I want everybody to be very clear of that. Very clear. So just as we talk about technology, artificial intelligence, and how it affects us in a disagreeable manner, in my scholarship, I also deal with technology and how it assists us. When we get into music, I'm going to show you how technology, as far as music is concerned, assists us. Notice technology, not artificial intelligence. It's a difference. Artificial intelligence technology does not assist us from a standpoint of music and how it affects our brain and how it affects our cells and things of that nature. We got to understand that, all right? Because your cells are listening. Your cells are data and information. They receive data and information, and they emit data and information to each cell. So what you say, your cells are listening. What you think, your cells are taking that in. All right? So we got to understand who we are, the power of who we are, and how it's all connected, and how we can use it to heal ourselves. So that's why I talk about spiritual technology the way I do. That's why I talk about the subconscious mind and how and why we need to deal with our subconscious mind. This is why I talk about intention and the importance of intention and how relative that is to our thoughts and to what we say and to what we do, and how that is divinely connected to the universe. Because when we think, speak, and do, all of that is science. And that is a technology. And it is a power in that technology. And power technology.
Explain that for the folks who some people just, you know, we've got some people around us, not me, and you know, but some people who just have some negative energy, you know, and that's why I tell people all the time, stay positive. Explain how that gets into your DNA. If you're so negative, because some people subconsciously they don't understand how negative they are. I had a friend once, and every time I got on the phone, it was just negative, and I said, kind of negative, aren't you? And she said, no, I'm not negative. Okay, we taped the conversation. I said, this is the I taped the conversation. Listen to it. There's nothing positive in that conversation, and that gives. That's why I kind of spaced on you, because you know I just can't take that negative energy. Explain how that works for humans.
Right. Okay, so let's deal with that now. First and foremost, we're all dealing with that on some level. As I mentioned earlier, the programming that takes place externally that affects us internally. So the subconscious mind, a neurological self. Also cells, like literally at the cellular molecular structure. Now, what does that mean? What it means is when we think, that carries an energy, okay? That carries an energy. You don't have to say anything. What you think carries an energy, all right? Now, what you think is connected to every aspect of your beingness. This is why we talk about the state of your consciousness, your mind, your thoughts, or the mind is all, whatever phrases people use, all right? Now, once we go from thought, you go into speech. Now, your speech as well carries energy, power, whether it's agreeable or disagreeable. It carries that. That affects your beingness, all right? Now, in that, it gets deeper, because when you speak, that's scientific. Because when you speak, what are you actually dealing with scientifically? You're dealing with vibration. You're dealing with geometrical shapes and figures and patterns. All of these things carry power. And your cells are receiving all of that power, whether it's powerful on the disagreeable side or it's powerful on the agreeable side. So literally, what you think and what you say, which turns into what you do, because it's pathology, it's behavior, it's neurological, it's experiences. So it turns into what you do repetitively or consistently. Now, that affects your cells. How does it affect your cells? Just like you have a mind, guess what? So does your cells. Your cells are communicating. Your cells are intelligent. If you keep telling yourself you're sick, guess what? You're sick. Your cells will do just that. Be sick. Okay? Now, when you tell yourself you're healthy, you're healing, you're divine, whatever other terms or attributes you use, your cells are listening. Now, energetically, that means that your cells are operating and spinning at a different rate. Okay? That's what we have to understand about the cellular and molecular structure. Listen. I mentioned the Bilderberg Conference, 1954. What else took place in 1954? CERN took place in 1954. The first CERN conference, all right? European Organization for European Research. Now, what was the purpose of it? what were they dealing with? They were dealing with protons, neutrons, and electrons. Why? Because they want to know who and what you are, brothers and sisters, so they can attempt to manipulate you artificially as deep as your cellular and molecular structure. That's what that is about. I need us to understand that. All right? So what are they doing? They're colliding particles over there. You understand that? They colliding particles together. They trying to emulate the speed of light. So this is what I'm telling you. AI is about using different scientific methods and means in order to manipulate your greatest essence, whether that's cellularly and molecularly, or even on the atomic level, because that's what I'm talking about now. That's what they're attempting to do. Now, again, you have the power to reprogram yourself of all of that. And you can simply do that by beginning to retool your intention, your thoughts, your speech. Once you do that, which I can assist you in doing that with empowered technology, you begin to now do things that's more in alignment with that masterful science that we are on our highest level. And I want to make this clear again.
All right, hold that thought right there, Brother Siddiqui. We got to take a short break. I'll let you finish on the other side. Thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is futuristic researcher, Brother Siddiqui Bakari, and the number to call to speak to him is 800-450-7876. And a sidebar on staying positive. Once you start staying positive, you'll see you lose some people who thought you were friends because that negative energy can't survive around your positive energy. But anyway, Brother Siddiqui, I'm going to let you finish your thought.
No, I just really want people to understand, the power that exists within us. I know, I deal with technology, artificial intelligence, transhumanism, and singularity, and many other topics that oftentimes is dealing with external things. But even in me dealing with that, the purpose of me dealing with that is to point us towards our spiritual selves, the true technology, the original, organic, archetypal, primordial, the most powerful technology that exists on the planet is you. It's not something that exists outside of you. It is you. It starts with you. And I want people to really, really understand that. I know we get into astrology and all these other different things, which is fine. But at the end of the day, it starts with you. It's not something outside of you that's determining or predicting how your day is going to be or what you're going to create or what you're going to manifest. You do that. And that's why the moniker that we have for empowered technology is you are the power. You. You are the power. And the better thoughts that a person thinks, the better their intention. What they speak is powerful. And once that happens, this is what happens. So, Carl, you mentioned how disagreeable people are negative people. Eventually, those people aren't going to want to be around you. And it's simple. People will sort themselves. You don't have to sort them. They'll sort themselves because you on a whole, another different, you're shifting. They're not. The people who are shifting, they're going to want to be around you because they're shifting. They have great intentions. They have great thoughts. They have great speech. They're doing what they think and what they say. So those are people who, it'll be like a magnet. See, I don't like to say law of attraction because it's a buzzword and there's a lot of things missing in that whole process when people start talking about the law of attraction and explaining it and all of that, because attraction means nothing without intention. Period. Your intention, first and foremost, is what matters. What you think and what you say doesn't matter if it's not in alignment with your intention. And the universe is going to deal with your intention. That's what the universe is going to be in alignment with, your intention. And this is why it's important. We have to deal with the essence of who we are, authenticity. So what does that mean? With empowered technology, the things that we know we have as issues are specifically created this technology, which is a spiritual technology, and attacked every one of those areas for us to be able to deal with those issues or quote unquote problems that we continue to deal with. So I have overcoming fear. That's the technology we deal with, dealing with fear. Mastering the science of affirmation. Breakthrough training, focused on trauma, triggers, and how to rewire memory. Success technology, cellular and molecular technology, how do we rewrite those things, as well as subconscious mind technology, neurological technology, intuition technology, imagination technology, alchemy technology, leadership technology. Now, all of these things work hand in hand. Let me be clear. They all work hand in hand, all right? So I just want the listeners to be clear and understand, yes, we deal with the issues. Yes, we deal with the problems. Yes, we deal with quote-unquote racism, white supremacy, and all of those things that it brings to the table and the type of victimization that we see that comes from it. We have the answers. That's what I'm saying. We have the answers. So we've had Nellie Fuller and Frances Cress Wilson, who is now an ancestor, who have given us so much in terms of racism, white supremacy over the last 50 some odd years. All right? So now we can take that, understanding those 9 areas of people activity and how we add an asterisk to each one because we're standing on their shoulders. So we add an asterisk now with technology. So now if you deal with education, entertainment, economics, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, now you add an asterisk to it, meaning technology, because technology is playing a role in each and every one of those areas. And we add an area which is number 10, which is technology itself. And now we know how to move through those areas with empowered technology. All right? So I just want the people to be clear, just as much as we're dealing with the issues, so to speak, or the problems, we're definitely moving forward with answers, solutions, how to. How do you do it? How to, that part. Tools, that part. If you do this, you get this. That part. That's what we're doing.
That's logic. That's Neely Fuller's field right there, logic. But today, 10 years ago, that's right. 10 years ago, Michael Jackson died. Oh, the music. Tell us what's the deal with the music that we're hearing today, the music that Michael made and those before him, the difference, the hip hop.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, let's go on to music. So let me do this first. When we go into that discussion, there's one thing I have to say for people to even begin to understand what I'm saying. When we say hip-hop and we say the music industry, those are 2 different things. Stop confusing hip-hop with the music industry. The music industry is exactly what it is. It is an artificial, intelligent machine industry that was used to usurp spiritually, economically, and in many other ways that it usurps hip-hop, period. When you say hip-hop, you are not just talking about one element, rap, so to speak, or the MC, which is what it is in hip-hop. You're not just talking about one element. You're talking about several elements, which actually gets into 9 elements. But the 4 main elements that they talk about in hip-hop is the MC, the DJ, the aerosol artist or graffiti artist, and the b-boy, b-girl. That's 4. Then there's also a 5th, which is knowledge in one school of thought, and in the other school of thought is beatbox. All right? So all you really see in the music industry is a rapper. And a rapper is simply a mimicking or artificial intelligent version of an MC. All right? So let me make that clear. So we got to lay that out first. Now, music, the power of music, when you deal with real instrumentation. All right? So when we go back to ancient times, wasn't no beat machine. There was this thing called the drums. Okay? It wasn't a beat machine. So we wasn't dealing with that. You didn't have Muzak programs and all these different programs that people deal with. I mean, now they're not dealing with Muzak. It's more updated aspects of technology now, but for the same purpose. We didn't use that. We used string instruments, real sound. So we understood thousands and tens of thousands of years ago, the purpose of music was to heal. It was a form of healing for us. Those string instruments have a certain effect on our cells, on our emotions, on our psychological state, on our neurological state. All right? So organic music, sound has a different effect on our bodies than artificial intelligent machines. All right? I went to New York some years ago and did a presentation specifically dealing with how music affects a child's mind. Music psychology. All right? So when we're dealing with real music, string instruments, drums, right? Those types of things, organic primordial sound, how does it help children? Behavioral problems and issues, aggression, all right? Also, music can cause that, aggression, behavioral problems, all right? It can be used to relax, achieve peace. Healing is already mentioned, right? Now, music can also be used for war. It can be used for peace, and it can be used for war. So we got to understand the balance of things. And that's why I'm making this point. We got to understand the balance of things, right? Too much of anything, not necessarily good for you. Music also strengthens memory. So you got to ask yourself, why are the children having artificial music continuously pumped into their beingness? See, those are questions you got to ask yourself. Hip-hop is going to help them strengthen their memory. Real hip-hop versus music industry music. Most music industry music is going to cause memory issues, all right? Learning and intellectual issues as well as cognitive development. We're talking about music. We're talking about sound. When you talk about music, you're talking about sound. Did you want to say something, Carl?
No, they just tell me that we've got about 30 seconds, but I'll let you finish it because we're coming up on a break.
Okay. Music boosts productivity and immune function. Music can also slow and equalize brain waves.
Yeah, well, I'll let you get into brainwaves and what music does for us, and the difference with the hip-hop music and the music of my generation, the older generation, the old hats. 800-450-7876. We'll take your calls for Brother Siddiqui Bakari. Thanks for rolling with us, folks. Our guest is futuristic researcher. His name is Siddiqui Bakari. We're going to give him his information. We're going to allow him to give his information before he leaves us, because I know he's done extensive research on hip-hop and how it works in our minds of our young people. So, Brother Siddiqui, I'm going to let you continue your thoughts.
Okay, so as I was mentioning, the positive side of music, real instrumentation, boosts productivity and immune function, as well as it can equalize and slow brain waves, as well as music enhances brain sensitivity to all sounds, including speech. Music raises efficiency and production. And I think most of the audience can attest to that. I'm sure you've had projects or whatever things are that you were working on, and you would have a certain type of music on, high energy, high vibration, some jazz or something like that, real instrumentation, and you got a lot more work done. Also increase and extend stamina. So these are all ways that it affects, in a positive way, a child. So this also is for adults as well. What you're listening to does affect your being, and we have to understand that. It does affect your being. Sound affects your being. Energy affects your being. All of these things affect your being. So when we look at particular aspects of music in the industry itself, the sound is intentionally created in a way or made in a way to have a certain effect on its listeners. Now, I'm not saying that totally controls a person. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying when you deal with mood and when you deal with emotions, it has an effect. All right, so we just have to understand that. Now, hip-hop. Let's look at hip-hop. Hip-hop is many things. So hip-hop is ritual. Hip-hop is tradition. Hip-hop is spiritual. Now, when I say that, I want you to understand I'm not talking about hip-hop starting in the Bronx in early 1970s, 73, 74, whenever it was. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about hip-hop before it was called hip-hop, because we've been walking and living and being hip-hop as long as we can remember. And we can document it as long as we can remember as well. So that's what we need to understand. We see those elements all over the continent and all over the world. Wherever we've been, we see it. We've lived it. We've experienced it. So everything that we're seeing in the last era that we now call hip-hop, which really started in the 60s, which really started before that in the Harlem Renaissance, and we can go on and on. But as we see it come through the different areas in different forms, we are clear that this is a spiritual essence to this. And it's about creativity. It's about alchemy. It's about that divine spark of creation and manifestation. It is about imagination. It is power. And everyone knew it was power. And that's why everyone is attempting to manipulate it now through the music industry. So let's do one thing. Let's stop calling the music industry hip-hop, because when we call the music industry hip-hop, we are desecrating our own essence and our own creation. Either it's hip-hop or it's not. And the music industry is not hip-hop. Now, I'm not saying there weren't people who came through the music industry who was really hip-hop. I'm not saying that. I'm saying as an industry, it is not hip-hop, because you have to have the original for the music industry to even exist. So you're going to have some people who they're going to flush through there or push through there to make it look like it's real and like it's hip-hop, just like they do with artificial intelligence in the many other circles and forums that they do. So if you want hip-hop, go in the streets outside in your hood, in your neighborhood or your city, and you can find real hip-hop. Hip-hop is not dead, and people need to stop saying hip-hop is dead. Hip-hop is alive. The music industry is dead, not hip-hop.
That's deep right there. So you're saying hip-hop is more than just music?
Absolutely, hip-hop is more than music. When I write a book, it's hip-hop, because it got my flavor. Nobody writes books like me. Nobody deals with the subject matter that I deal with. That's hip-hop. That's coming from my soul, from my spirit, from my imagination. I'm creating how I'm going to write the book. I'm creating the format of the book. That's hip-hop. When I put my shell toe Adidas on or whatever I put on, that's my style. That's hip-hop. And I'm not promoting corporate America. I just want us to be clear. That's hip-hop. The way I tilt my hat, that's hip-hop. All that is hip-hop. The way I put together my seminar, that's hip-hop.
Now, how does that I was going to ask you, how does that relate to the fact that hip-hop is the most popular music today? Young whites are all in hip-hop, as artists, and as their favorite genre of music. That's what they like. And they finally co-opted it from us, or what's going on there?
Well, they co-opted it from the standpoint of what they're doing in the music industry and the illusion that they've been able to give to the world as if that's what hip-hop really is. And, of course, we are conspirators to that, because we've allowed them to do that in many cases. But see, that goes back to psychology. When we talk about quote-unquote racism, white supremacy, it goes back to all of that victimization. We don't love ourselves. So when you don't love yourself, you let somebody come in and take whatever's yours. This is why, listen, let me make this clear. I'll use examples. I publish my work. No one can control what I say, what I write, or what I speak. I published it. No publishing companies, no one. I've had the ability to do it if I wanted to do it that way. I chose not to. Self-determination. I'm going to stay authentic. And no one's going to come in and manipulate my authenticity or tell me I should write this way because these particular people may feel a certain way. Or I should write this way because it's politically correct. No, I'm going to write how I want to write. I'm going to be in my divinity. To me, that's hip-hop. So what we see is the manifestation of the manipulation. That's what we see in the music industry. Remember, the music industry wouldn't touch hip-hop. Then they realized they can make money off of it. Then they realized, hold up, some people waking up because of hip-hop. We need to change that. So we got to understand that the mechanics of things and how things work and how things operate and who we're dealing with when we deal with this system and the many different aspects of the system. Entertainment. Isn't that one of the aspects of people activity in racism, white supremacy, quote unquote?
That's right.
Entertainment.
I got a tweet here from one of our listeners. It says, examples of our ancestral hip-hop, call and response, A-rhythms and cross rhythms, drumming, dance, spiritual ceremonies, double entendres.
Absolutely correct.
All
Absolutely, 1,000%. Absolutely. When we look at the rituals, when we look at the Dogon, and we look at those rituals, the ritualistic mask that they wear on top of their heads, all of that is hip-hop. Now, even when we deal with that, that's on some high science, spiritual, ritual, traditional, divine essence, speaking to the ancestors type of hip-hop. When we look at the Akan and the symbolism, the iconography, all right? When we look at the Yoruba and all the things that the Yoruba do ancestrally, when we look at Kemet, when we look all over the continent, even going back to, as far as we can go, the different remnants and names of the tribe, we see hip-hop. In everything that we did, you see hip-hop. And it was connected to the essence because we are the essence.
And since we no longer have total control over hip-hop, because as you mentioned, the music industry, for that segment of it, does that change how it's interpreted?
Absolutely, it changes how it's interpreted. Media, absolutely. That changes how it's interpreted. Absolutely, without a question, without a shadow of a doubt, because most people are plugged into the media. And the media makes up people's minds for them. And the media is part of, as I keep mentioning, PSYOPs programming, psychological operations, CIA. The media is part of that, one of the major wings of that. And that's the reason that the government, most specifically, if I'm not mistaken, the CIA, took full control of the media around the 19 teens, around 1911, 1913, 1915. They took control of all print media, which was the media at that time. Y'all know who the families are. It hasn't changed. So that's what we see now in the form of what media is today. It's literally a PSYOPs program. And one of the things that they're using as part of that program is they're using music, or they're using the music industry. So we have to be
Hang on a second, Brother Siddiqui. We got to take another short break. I want you to explain that, how they're using the music industry to get at us. Thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is futuristic researcher, Brother Siddiqui Bakari. We've been talking about artificial intelligence, transhumanism, a lot of other stuff as well. And you know, basically, people are listening and understanding what the brother is saying. Brother Siddiqui, I got a tweet question or comment for you after you finished telling us about the music industry.
What did we finish off on, Paul? Oh, media. You want to know how the media is used in with the music industry, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so the media is used from a standpoint of, first and foremost, the attracting essences on our babies, the youth. Why? Because they already know that they have you, the listeners, and your mama and your daddy. They already know they got y'all programmed because they know you grew up, in most cases, with the television. So pretty much their main concern now is the children. So what they're doing now, because hip-hop has been a global phenomenon for much longer than they tell you that it has been, or I should say what they now call the music industry, has been a phenomenon. Now, what they're doing is, when we look at things like criminalization and all of these different types of things, they're using the music industry, specifically what we see as rap and that main aspect of it, even when you look at the R&B and what that's promoting and all of those types of things through the music industry, we see the effects that it has on the children. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, when we look at criminalization, now I'm going to show you how the media works. When we look at criminalization, based on the media, you would think that we are the largest group of criminals on the planet. But when you actually break down the numbers, and if anybody, I don't have the exact documentation of it right now, I can get it. So when you look at that, what we're clear about is, when you look at it, it's if I'm not mistaken, 30 to 40 aspects of what they consider the major aspects of criminalization, all right? There is only one that we lead. White people lead the rest of them. The only one we lead is theft. Now, why is that? Theft is a condition of poverty. That's the only one we lead. So when you look at everything else, rape, molestation, on and on and on and on, this is blue and white collar crime. It's not us that's leading it. It's white people by far. But let the media tell it it's always you. Why? What images are they showing you in the media? So this is what's going right into your baby's subconscious mind. They showing you images of black people as the rapists, as the molesters, as the murderers. That's who they're showing you. So that's a way that media plays a role. Also, what videos are they showing you? They're showing you videos that promote what? They're showing you videos that promote that black people are the largest group of criminals in the world, and they know that that's not true. The media is a script, first and foremost. So there's no denying that there has to be an agenda to manipulate the minds of the people who are watching it. Now, that's just what they're saying as far as what they say in media. I'm not even going into what they do symbolically with colors, images. I'm not even going into that aspect of it. So, and they're using the music industry to do it. As Professor Griff always talks about with hip-hop in the music industry, signs and symbols. And Griff and I have done a lot together, so we're very familiar with each other's work. And I appreciate Griff. I respect his work. So if you are familiar or want to be more familiar with hip-hop, a lot of Professor Griff's work is definitely necessary, as well as my brother, Black Dot. His work is also crucial from a standpoint of being able to take this matrix of hip-hop in the music industry and to make it something that we can really understand on the different levels of it, whether it's the secret society behind the closed doors aspect of it, whether it is the side of it that I most deal with, history, ancient history or artificial intelligence technology, and Men Black Dot focuses more on the metaphysical aspect of technology. And we all can deal with all of those areas. So that's the beautiful thing about it. So we bounce off each other. So some of what I'm talking about, not only my work and my research, but it's also theirs.
Right. And I mentioned I had a tweet from John. John says, all these things were designed to do good, but you've got people who like to do evil. Please ask your guest, how can we prepare our youngsters in the future to spot what is good and what is evil?
You can prepare them by showing them what is good. We can prepare them by not taking them out of their divinity. We can prepare them by allowing them to stay in their imagination. We can allow them by communicating with them and allowing them to speak, so they will always be open to speaking to us. Those are things that we can do. But most importantly, show and prove in the communication. My daughters, my babies can talk to me about anything. My son can talk to me about anything, and they know that they can. So we have to make sure that's where we are. Whatever's going on outside should not have more of an influence on our children than we do. Okay? When my child comes home, my babies go to, well, I'm not going to say where they go to school, but it's not a public school. It's African Center School. When my babies come home from school, even when that school is incorrect about something, and I tell them what the truth is, my daughters know who's telling the truth. They know Baba is telling the truth, not the school. And that's what we got to make sure we have with our children. And we have to instill that at a very early age. Brothers, especially if you got little girls, that has to be instilled at a very early age. Soon as they are able to talk, that needs to be instilled. They need to know that as their father, you are the first person that they can come to about anything, because that balance is necessary.
I got another tweet for you from one of our listeners in London. He says 5G is being tested in parts of America for driverless vehicles. Birds found dropping out of the sky. Has your guest heard about this?
Oh, absolutely, I've heard about it. I mean, we've didn't we talk about 5G? I think the last show we talked about 5G.
Right.
We talked about 5G. Yeah, we talked about 5G. 5G. Well, it can be helpful.
He may have missed the show. So why don't you just give him a thumbnail sketch, because he may have missed the show about 5G.
Oh, 5G?
Because we talked about that China's already got 5G, and Russia and all these other countries got 5G, and we still haven't got it.
Well, America does too. America does too. A lot of we just may not have it, but America has it.
Right.
Absolutely, they have it. So 5G, primarily it's a faster wireless transmission. It's being considered the future of humanity. 5G technology is also called the Internet of Things, IoT. Now, it's 10 to 100 times faster than 4G, all right? So that evolution has continued to take place since the G technology has come out, all right? So primarily, though, 5G technology is more so for corporations like Samsung, Intel, Nokia, Qualcomm, Ericsson, huge corporations like that. So it's considered as over a $7 trillion industry. Of course, there's health hazards. Y'all can look up the health hazards. We went over the health hazards on the last show, but that's something you can easily find on the internet. When we deal with the Internet of Things, so this is the ability to be able to connect homes, workplaces, cities and parks and things of that nature. So now you don't have to leave your house, and you have a more advanced, quote unquote, or updated technology that can be used. Of course, super fast download and streaming, more data can be used. It gets into smart homes. Driverless cars is the listener mentioned. Virtual and augmented reality, which we're already dealing with. Virtual and augmented reality. We've been had driverless cars and all of those things. So these are just things. When we say 5G, it's just we're going to see things more updated, quote unquote, upgraded. It's quote unquote advanced. That's really what we're going to see. In other words, what it means is the technology supposedly has gotten better. So that's what we see from 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G. That's what we're seeing. And if they're rolling out a 5G, 6G already exists. I want to, again, whatever they're showing you, they're 50 years ahead of that. And we're not deifying them. We're not deifying Western science or any of that. We're not doing that. I just want you to understand how it works. And again, we need to be deifying ourselves, deify your babies, deify your mother and your father, deify yourself.
Right, and the same goes with television sets too. They have 4K out now, and the prices are dropping almost to the ground. So you know they've got 8K and probably more than that, 16K in certain areas. Mm-hmm. But he mentioned the birds are dropping out of the sky too. Is this because of the 5G technology?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a strong possibility. I can't say specifically yes, but it's definitely a strong possibility. Because again, what are we dealing with? We're dealing with energy and electromagnetic fields and radiation and all of these different things that can have an effect on what's around it. If it affects people, it can affect birds. So we got to understand this. We're dealing with these technologies. We're on a computer all day. Guess what? It affects our body. And if you don't think it affects your body, you're sadly mistaken. Any technology that we're interfacing with is affecting our body. These plasma TVs are affecting our bodies. Okay? Digital phones are affecting our bodies. Delbert Blair left us tons of information dealing with that and why we need diodes and crystals and all these other types of things to offset it. So this is a reality and this is science. So it's a strong possibility that, yes, that's why birds are falling out the sky. That's why fish are dying, yes. That's why we're seeing these things. That's why we're seeing these things happening in nature that should not be happening because of technology and certain things that the technologies present and the effects that it has based on the effects, the uses of it, and the effects of it. It's not natural. Things that aren't natural, what does it do? It affects us. It makes people sick, quote unquote. It gives people diseases, quote unquote. It kills people and things, quote unquote. So, yes, it's a strong possibility. Western science is not going to come out and tell you how detrimental many of these different forms and aspects of technologies are. Because if they told you, we wouldn't use them.
All right, we got like 30 seconds, Brother Siddiqui. How can folks reach you? How can they get copies of your book if they want more information?
Yes. Siddiqui Bakari at hotmail.com. SADIKIBAKARI. One word. Siddiqui Bakari at hotmail.com. Just leave me a message for whatever book you want, and I'll send you the link, or Facebook. Inbox me.